Take this halter off and let's go ahead and put the bridle on. You don't have to take the halter off. I mean, there'd be nothing wrong at all with leaving that halter on and just tying it up to your saddle so that when you get somewhere, wherever you're going, you can just take it off. You know, most of the time it's better to take it off. I like to just simply slip it off their nose and tie it around their neck. That's a lot better than having to holler for people to come help you catch your horse out in the middle of the parking lot. So it's pretty embarrassing when your horse gets away, but this will save you a lot of trouble. And then when it comes to the actual bridling, to me there's a process that if you follow it will keep it from being a big ordeal. The first thing I want to do is get my horse to put his nose through the headstall like that. And I'm not even thinking about putting the bit in his mouth right now. And if you notice that I've got my left hand above his eye over here, his left eye, now I'm simply going to replace my left hand with my right hand. And then I'm going to come down and catch this bit and hold that bit in my fingers and then place my thumb in the corner of his mouth and wait for him to start licking my thumb. And then as he's licking my thumb, I just pick that bit up in his mouth. Then I'm going to be real careful of that eye, the left eye, and I'm going to bring this left ear forward and place that headstall over it, and then I'm going to lift it out around his right eye and bring that right ear forward and put it in the ear keeper. Then I'll make my adjustments and see this headstall is a little bit long for this horse right here, so I'm going to shorten it up a notch. Okay, and just play with that your particular horse and see where he likes to carry the bit better. If he likes it up tight against him, we'll put it up tight. If he likes it hanging a little looser, we'll give him a chance to see if that's all right. There's no nothing set in any textbook that says you have to do it this way. It might be, but I find that these horses haven't read too many textbooks, and they'll each one of them be a little bit different. They'll like things a little differently. So now that I've got the bridle on, I'm going to just put the off rein up over his neck, and then I'll check the saddle and make sure the saddle's tight. And okay. If you've ever had a saddle slip on you once you've gotten on, you'll remind yourself to tighten that saddle up before you get on. So now that we've gotten the saddle tightened, we've got the bridle on. A few years ago, I got to get a brand new hip, and I found that this tool right here is the best tool I have in the barn, and I can get on him from the ground now. But what I taught myself through the process of going where I needed this thing all the time is the value of it. The value of having a horse where I call it come pick you up. And how many of us have been out places where we got off and we couldn't get back on our horse because it was just too tall? So there are trees or ditches or something, and we need to have our horse be able to come over and pick us up no matter where we are, side of your trailer, off the fence. My horses get where them, when they see me crawl up on the fence, they'll start coming over to pick me up. So I'll get up here, and then I want him to come over here and come over here. And you see, that was a practical demonstration of how to use the groundwork that we did a little while ago. So that was just coming over to me, and then he needs to stand there and wait for me to get on. And he started to move before I asked him to move. So I'm going to just slightly bring my legs against him and ask him to wait. I feel like the mounting process should be quiet, should be uneventful, and should be safe. So that's why I teach my horses to come up to the mounting block like that. Now, once I get on, my thoughts go to my posture, and I just kind of really thought about this, and you know, I don't know about y'all, but I like those John Wayne movies. And you watch True Grit, and there's old John Wayne. He's sitting up there, and perhaps John wasn't the best horseman in the world, but he was a great actor. And I don't know this personally, but I bet you that John Wayne saw the true vaqueros of the West, and I bet you that he was doing his best to imitate how they looked. And that's why he had that upright posture. Now, there's some practical benefits that come from having that, what I call the John Wayne posture. And if you'll think of your upper body as if it is an outboard motor on your fishing boat, and if you've got that thing tipped up into the boat and the propeller is out of the water, you can mash on the gas all you want, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to whiz out there in the air. Well, a horse going along with his head too low, looking at the ground, and the rider leaning up over the saddle, we don't have anything to get forward motion from. But when I sat up and I assumed my John Wayne posture, and I'm looking out across the horizon, and I'm sitting straight up, now all of a sudden my seat bones engage on top of this saddle. And I've got a seat bone on each side of his spine. So that when I ask him to go forward, that horse just goes forward. And just sitting up there on top of him, straight up and down, my eyesight looking out. I have to remind myself of this all the time, because any of us that get to riding by ourselves too much will tend to do this. We'll get to looking at the top of our horse's head, and we tend to lean forward when we're looking down at our horse's head. Whereas if I'm setting up and looking out, my eyesight is out, I've got a lot better chance of communicating with my horse if I'm in this posture. That's why that I think it's so important that we sit and have our eyesight out in the distance in front of us. Now here's how it relates, and you'll be able to relate to this right away. When you drive your car, do you look at the hood of the car? No, you look out down the road, and because you're looking out down the road, you see red lights and you see brake light, whatever it is. Half mile down the road, you simply let off of the gas of the car, maybe if you need to put the brake on, and it's a non-event. But if you're driving along looking at the hood of your car or looking at your phone, and you wake up like this and there's a brake light right there in front of you, but that car's already stopped and you don't have enough distance to get stopped, now you're going to crash. So if I'm looking at my horse like this, and if I'm going along up there with my head like this, and I'm out on the trail ride like this, and all of a sudden a rabbit gets up here, I'm on the ground right here before I knew what happened, because my horse just simply moved from the rabbit jumping up. But if I'm looking out and I'm going, going along, when you ever thought about this? When you're watching a rodeo and it's time for the saddle broncs or the bareback horses, where are those guys' heads at when they come out of that chute? They're laying back there on the tail. Why do you think they get back there like that? So they can stay on that horse. That's why. It's not just a game, but if we're leaning forward, we're vulnerable. Our center of gravity is too far forward. All the horse has to do is move a little bit, and we find ourselves off of the horse. And also with this John Wayne posture, when I want to turn, I'll simply look and see my right shoulder get behind my left shoulder, and everything in me is telling this horse to turn right. When I want to straighten up, I'll just straighten up and see him go straight. When I want to turn to the left, my left shoulder gets behind my right one, and everything in me is telling this horse to turn. So the clear communication that takes place by having that John Wayne posture, sitting on your seat bones, and if you focus your attention on your upper body and what it's doing, you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. Maybe you already know this, but you might be surprised of how well and how attentive your horse is to that. It just makes sense right away. You don't have to teach your horse that. When he feels you come off over here like this, he goes over there like that. So he's ready, to make that turn. He's ready to go straight. He's just ready because you're communicating with him in a way that makes sense. So anyway, just some simple techniques that I think will help you out quite a bit. So I hope you enjoyed that.